This is our second and final lecture about globalization and international journalism. If we look at the chapter, it has many sections, but if we look at the theme, there is one theme basically at work, which means that how does globalization affect international journalism, and vice versa, how does international journalism support or affect globalization. Now, at times it seems like some of the headings are a bit superfluous. You don't need to have those, but still they clarify a few things. We have covered two sections of this chapter, and we have to go for another 6 months. These six are, I'll just cite those, that makes it easier for you to understand. Otherwise there is not much difference, it's just going in the same direction. So the one that we begin with is what is globalization, and the second one is the global village, and then local and global, or local and or global, and then McBride and New Order, Westernization or what, and globalization and international journalism. So these are the sections that we have in front of us. So let's begin with what is globalization. I think we have discussed what is globalization. Globalization is a process of change which brings in countries together because of technological and world advancements. You can physically reach some place, and you can also know about places through the advanced means of communication. You can connect with people easily. The role of mass media is extremely important, because mass media is basically the transmitter of cultural images from one into the other, and it can be a two-way process. On the one hand, it will add to the process of hegemony of the developed Western world over the developing or the underdeveloped countries like Pakistan or Bangladesh, India, or any other African countries, and many. But at the same time, it could be helpful in creating a world society in which we can understand each other better. And that's basically the basis of the whole discussion here. So when we talk about globalization, we say that it is a process which has added to two things: interaction and interconnectedness. Interaction means the way people interact with each other, the way they know each other, and the way they physically or emotionally get to know each other. Interconnectedness means that it's a similar idea with a bit of difference. It means that if you want to, you might have a friend with whom you might have more in common, and you are more connected to that person who doesn't live in your own country, in your own household. So you can get globally connected through different media, especially social media. You might be having friends on social media who are nearer to you than your next door neighbor, or about who you might be knowing more than your next door neighbor. That's the simple definition of the interconnectedness and interaction. Now we come to basically two trends in globalization. Like there are pessimist globalizers, and there are positive globalizers. The positive globalizers see the first thing. They see a world being connected and at a scale that never was possible before, and a world that goes beyond the national boundaries, and ideas that float across the world. and nation states are no more a hindrance in the travel of ideas and also in people knowing each other. So a world without boundaries, a universal democracy, we could say, as George Mead used to say, and that's also true. But the pessimists in the process of globalization think that the dominant powers, like the Western powers, the US and the Western democracies, they can also have more power over the knowledge have-nots or the information have-nots, or what we call the people who are financially weaker and politically weaker. Like it will add to the dominance of the Western world. So the developing world will be on the losing end anyway. So these are the two optimistic and pessimistic approaches. Both are true. Both are true, and both are happening. If you ask me personally, right now in COVID-19, basically because of the technological advancement, the virus just spread all over the world, which is nobody's fault and everybody's fault. It's the way of life that is being challenged right now. But the positive side is that the world is on the same page, and everybody around the globe is trying to tell other people without any restriction of country, race, or creed what they have to do. So the idea of homogeneity is basically twofold. Homogeneity could be good, we can all share good ideas, respect each other's, or we can adopt a dominant culture and serve it. And this is what hegemony also means, that you accept the other's culture as better than your own. And you can see in the developing world, people do that. Like people admire the US and they feel lesser in front of people in the Western democracies. The Western democracies also have this sense of arrogance in them because they think that they are better human beings and they are more organized. But at the same time, there is this process of hybridization going on. Hybridization means that you have your own cultural traits and you interact with other cultures and you make choices. You make good choices. You think this is something that I should let go and this is something that I should adopt. And in that process, the identity that comes in is a hybrid one. It's not the original one, but it's not altogether the new one. Hybridization is a process that is globally happening. I'll keep track of the time also. I don't want to talk about too much about it. Then there is about Marshall McLuhan, the global village. I think Kevin Williams failed to really understand Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan is known as a media determinist. Now, what is a media determinist? A media determinist is a person who thinks that whatever has happened in the world is all the advancements in human civilization was and is and will be due to development in technologies that will support media. Now, he's not the only determinist. Like Sigmund Freud was a determinist who thought that the world has changed because of sexual attitudes. Karl Marx was an economic determinist who thought that everything changes when there is change in human society, when there are changes in the instruments of production. Arnold Toynbee was a religious determinist when he said that all the changes in human civilization came because of religion. So he's far deeper than Williams says, and also his idea of global village doesn't simply mean that it will be a village where people will be living together in harmony. He has written a lot more than what is mentioned in this book. True, the term global village was coined by him, I think somebody early, but he was the one because of his holistic approach to the idea of global village became more popular, and that's why. It is one of the most misrepresented concepts also. Every politician speaks about the global village. Everybody who knows or doesn't know about anything about the way the world is interacting knows the term, and that's hence the misrepresentation. When Marshall McLuhan says that there is a global village, he also says that because of living in the global village, because of the depth of the distance, we will be experiencing the retribalization of the world. Retribalization of the world means that people will feel threatened by the onslaught of different ideas into their cultures, and they will close their cultural borders, like they will not accept ideas from other people, and they will be very skeptical about those. If we take him in that way, he is right. What McLuhan said was that people will get conscious about their identities and the inflow of alien cultural traits, and they will close up. We can see the spread of right-wing extremist ideologies around the globe, and we can see the skepticism. Although there are a lot of fake news, but even good news are also greeted with a lot of skepticism when it comes to international journalism. And then there is this idea of the local versus global. It moves into the same direction. The local versus global means that a global identity will control the local narrative in the global village, or in a world ruled by globalization. Now, here again, there are two views. One of them is the spread of humanity through NGOs. We look at NGOs in a very different context, but what I'll say, NGOs, when I say NGOs, I mean non-profit organizations who are really helping the world understand the good things about the world. Now, the way they function and the way we have our reservations around the globe is a very different matter, so we would discuss that. But the critics of this process say that the good that the NGOs are doing by bringing awareness and help is being outmaneuvered by transnational corporations, especially in the fields of media. Transnational corporations are like Rupert Murdoch. He is somebody who has control of the media, and he's the person who really controls the mega narrative, global mega narrative, and he can really make or unmake images of different countries, people. So a lot of, like, this is what we call media imperialism or media hegemony and all these things. So the idea here is that the question here is that there is an awareness about this difference between this, what we call the knowledge gap that is developing also, and also the problem that we are facing regarding the flow of the imbalance in the flow of information. And here comes the McBride Commission. Like we discussed McBride Commission earlier also, and I think in the course that qualifies you to this also has discussion on McBride Commission in freedom of expression. So McBride Commission was established to understand the idea of the reality of the imbalance in the flow of information, whether it exists or not. The report said there is an imbalance, and there is a huge dependence of the developing world upon the developed Western democracies. And there are also a few recommendations coming from the McBride Commission, like establishment of independent media organizations, like news agencies, which can give the picture of the world the way it is seen in the developing world. The long and short of it is that it didn't work out. But there is another idea which also has not yet worked out, is that we need other news values. Like instead of giving news in terms of events. We should give an account of the processes of culture and all the happenings. So then there'll be a context. Now that's easier said than done, because the Western wars, especially the Anglo-American model of journalism, what the US is doing, US is investing heavily in training journalists in different parts of the world, which, as we discussed earlier, which is bringing homogenization. But at the same time, it is really a great impediment in the path of developing a local or kind of a developing world news value system. So the problem is where it is till date. Ideas like peace journalism, community journalism, and all these solution journalism are somehow trying to support the growth of an equal global information system. Not yet happened, but we can hope for it. So the way we look at it, like the idea of Westernization, like Westernization is a simple thing that the whole of the world is being transformed into the image of the West, especially the US, like the terms like McDonaldization of the world and Coca-Colaization of the world and things like that, that you are, these things have become part of your culture, like Disney and whatnot, malls that you buy from and everything. So the local vendor is dying. You go to a mall where you can get all the things and have also the satisfaction of buying in a Western atmosphere. These are all basically cultural constructs from the West that we have accepted without thinking for a moment about what will happen to the local context. So this means that the West and its organizations are really managing the meaning-making processes happening in the developing world. Now the last part of it is globalization and its relationship with international journalism. International journalism, there is an interesting term, communication cartels, like people like Rupert Murdoch and all these people are operating like communication cartels, like the drug mafia that works in Latin America. So they are controlling information. They are just not letting anybody else live or survive in the marketplace of ideas. As John Pilger said, the new rulers of the world and the lords of the global village, the terms that he used clearly define and indicate the global ideas of global hegemony and control and the way it's affecting the information have-nots, and they are getting financially poor because they have less information, since information is power. We are almost at the end of it, and but at the same time, due to the rise in social media, we are looking at what they call do-it-self journalism. Like people are doing journalism on their own, uploading it, and they are creating a narrative. Now, how influential is that narrative? We still don't know, because fake news are not simply the ones that are fake, but at times good enough information not coming from a source that is credible to the West, not following the procedures that the West follows, are also labeled as fake news. So there is a war of narratives going on, and it's not at the end here. We are all trying to get an equitable information environment for each and everybody, something that could be seen as one of the prerequisites of what we call universal democracy. It means universal acceptance of respect for each and every human being living any place at any place in the world. It's a process.